Welcome to the Net Front Presence. I'm Jeff Gordon, the Post-Dispatch, joined by our beat reporter, Mathew DeFranks from the West Coast. Matthew, this whole idea of blowing up the Blues and gathering up a bunch of draft picks and prospects, the Blues have other ideas. The players and the coaching staff making a strong statement here, as you've written about here in the Post.
Yeah, so 5-1-1 since coming back from the Four Nations break now. That includes Wednesday night's 3-2 shootout win in Los Angeles. That's their last game before the trade deadline. They ended the night 1 point back of Calgary, and Vancouver is also tied with them for the second wild card in the Western Conference. So the Blues have played two more games than those teams, so that is something to take into account. But the fact that they are, 1 point back after being 8 points back just 2 weeks ago, that is something it happens fast. At the break, they were closer to a top 5 pick than they were to a playoff spot, and suddenly they're 1 point out of a playoff spot. They're playing good hockey, and they're not just going on a fluky hot streak. I think we've talked about this before. Like, they are winning these games that they deserve to win. And I think that's the most encouraging part about this, if you're a Blues fan, is that this seems to be somewhat sustainable. They've consistently played so much better at 5-on-5, particularly defensively under Jim Montgomery. And we talked about them not just getting the results. They weren't getting the results because maybe inconsistent goaltending, because the penalty kill was one of the worst in the league. And you look at this recent stretch, the only game that they lost, they gave up 4 power play goals, and the only game they lost in regulation, I should say. And every other game, their kills kind of been pretty decent. I mean, I think it was 2 for 2 last night. They went on an 8 for 8 run across 4 or 5 games, and they found pretty good results. So if the penalty kill can be 75 to 80% instead of 70%, I think they're going to be in a good position because their 5-on-5 play has been really good for a few months now.
One of the things that struck me is the vibe that you've written about, which is why we have you on the road with the team every day. The Jordan Binnington, speaking of the love in the room. And this is not a small matter, because there are a lot of teams that have been in a rebuild for a long time. And this has been a topic we've had many discussions about. Some of these teams just never get that vibe. They get a lot of good young players. They make some big moves. The team looks better on paper, but it doesn't get better on the ice, and this team is trying to prove that it can build that sort of vibe that Doug Armstrong was hoping to see as they start loading in younger players to go with the core group. So it seems like they're accomplishing the goal, not just for this season, but for future seasons.
Yeah, it's a boisterous room to be in. After morning skates, guys are coming off. They're singing. They walk off the ice and they're singing. They walk off the ice. They're joking around with each other. It's one of the feelings that it's tough to get when you're being told that you're playing well, but you're not seeing the results. It's like, yeah, you played well, but you lost again. You played well, but you lost again. And suddenly they're winning, and the good vibes have followed. And I think what Jake Neighbors said last night too was also pretty interesting, in that he's like, yeah, we've learned that working hard is fun. And I think you see with every shot block, even like the first period, if there's a big shot block, the bench will stand up. They'll put their sticks over the boards and start tapping them. I think you can look at 2 different penalties that the Blues drew last night and point to hard work being fun. And it's both roughing penalties in front of the Blues bench. They both came on hits that they finished. Zach Bolduc finished on, I think it was Trevor Lewis. Lewis gave him a shot right back after, and Bolduc drew a roughing. And then the other one, Nathan Walker, gave Kevin Fiala a shove into the boards, and Fiala pushed back, and the Blues drew a penalty out of that. Like, that's finishing your checks when you don't always have to. And so they're finishing the checks in front of their own bench. They get some energy out of that. Jake Neighbor said, working hard is fun, and the results have helped that. Like, that's what brings the energy around, is when you see your teammates working hard, you see the results on the ice, you see the results in the standings. Like, it's a different vibe than just even 2 weeks ago when they're coming back from the break. And uh, that's been a theme that both Jim Montgomery and the players have talked about is uh, having that work ethic and having it change to a point where they're enjoying it.